Okay. This is just a basic timeline. 2008, Obama was elected. Okay. There's your first instance, actually not your first instance, but a major instance of Russia meddling with our elections. If Russia's been meddling with our elections, Russia is completely behind the election of Obama and his rise to power through the election system of the United States. Then Obama was on his best behavior for his first term. And then what's he do? Like every president, in his second term, he shows his true colors. In 2000, during his second term, that's when we had Benghazi, Black Lives Matter, just Ferguson riots, okay? But going back, this is kind of a summary of leading up to World War III. Edward Snowden. That happened during Obama's second term. What people don't realize is Snowden didn't just leak NSA information. He leaked DARPA and NORAD information. He leaked designs and plans, and I'll prove it. Because if you look at when Edward Snowden defected, and I say defected, I mean he did whatever it is that you want to call it, where he took a briefcase full of hard drives that were loaded with top secret U.S. information about how to build all of our latest, most recent military technology, including how to hack our I don't know if you guys remember the Donald Cook, what happens to the Donald Cook in the Black Sea, and how Russia had an aircraft that shut down all of our navigation systems and all of our electronics with one aircraft. Okay, so part of the war, World War III, is Obama being elected and Russia having meddled in our elections way back then. Okay, I'm sorry, but Obama is a Black Lives Matter Iranian operative that got to where he is by help from Russia. Okay, he became president because Russia hacked our elections back in 2004 when he first started running, or whenever it was that Obama first started running for office. He was backed by Russia and they were hacking our elections. And then, of course, in his second term, we see Benghazi. Russia takes over Crimea. And as soon as Edward Snowden, the first place he went was, I think, somewhere, what's that nation in South America that hates America? That hates the United States. I can't remember. El Salvador or something like that. Venezuela. First place Edward Snowden went was Venezuela. Then he went to China. Then he went to Russia. Okay? And what did he have? He had a briefcase full of hard drives. As soon as he did that, as soon as Edward Snowden did that, just a few months later, that's when Russia started doing their flights. Remember, Russia was doing all those threatening flights around the United States, down the East Coast, down the West Coast. Then we have the Taizheng bombing explosion in 2015. Okay? That was the first. There's a connection with all of this here. Okay? Because China, as soon as Edward Snowden did his thing, all of a sudden Russia became emboldened, and same with China. Okay? So the Taizheng explosion was kind of significant because both Russia and China, the reason that Russia threatened thermonuclear war if Hillary Clinton is elected in 2016 was because it was Hillary Clinton who made that decision for the Taizheng explosion. It's called an explosion, but it was really the CIA or Department of Defense, some sort of covert operation, okay? Now you say, I disagree, I don't think so. Well, you're dumb, okay? And you don't hear from God like I do. Okay, so then we had, remember, the nuclear threat for the election of 2016? How come nobody ever remembers that? How come we're watching the news and nobody ever... It's like we forget history. We instantly forget history. Nobody's putting this stuff together. How about this? I'm your historian, and I'm here to tell you that Obama... that the Russia meddling in elections started with Obama when he was first started running for office, before he was even president. And then, of course, in 2017, we saw North Korea start acting up. Now, here's what I've seen, and this is, you need to get your head on straight and listen to what I'm telling you. We've seen escalation, right? Escalation, like literal military operations, explosions, aircrafts being shot down or crashing. And then we see a time of like a ceasefire, but we see political negotiations happen. So we've seen that over and over again. Okay, so if you were to go back to, let's say, 2017, okay, what we saw was North Korea acting up and launching a bunch of rockets. And then we saw a ceasefire of rockets while Trump went and did a bunch of political negotiations down in the, South China Sea area. He went to South Korea, and he went to Japan, and he went to China, okay? And we saw de-escalate. Then all of a sudden it starts to escalate in Syria, okay? Then it cools down in Syria, and it escalates in North Korea again. And then it cools down with North Korea and starts to escalate with China. Then it cools down with China, starts to escalate with Russia. Then there's a de-escalation, a defusing of everything, and we see a bunch of political. And what we're seeing right now, today, being, I don't even know the date. What is it? Let's get the exact date, right? It's June 5th, 2018. And we see Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, they're supposed to meet in Singapore and all this. Well, we're in another time of political negotiations. And that has traditionally led to more escalation, whether it be in Syria or with North Korea or with China. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is there's a pattern here where we see hot war and then it stops, okay, and it goes into political negotiations. And then as soon as those political negotiations are over, we see another escalation into a hot war again, whether it's in Syria, Crimea, North Korea, whether it's a trade war with China. All of this, it's all, guess what? It's all Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Turkey. That's the beast, the government and regime of the Antichrist, rising up against the United States. And the book of Daniel describes it as, and the book of Revelation chapter 13 describes it as a bear, leopard, dragon beast, a bear, leopard, dragon beast against a lion eagle. Okay, now the lion eagle is described in Daniel chapter 7, I believe it is. And the bear, dragon, leopard is described in Revelation chapter 13. But it's Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran versus the United States and the UK. Now, Russia's the dragon. China is the dragon. Russia is the bear. Islam and Iran and Turkey represent the leopard. Okay, and then the United States is the eagle, and the UK or Great Britain is the lion. And in the Bible, we see all those symbols going to war against each other. Okay? And then, of course, the sky's rolled up like a scroll, and every island is moved, every mountain is moved. And what's going on? Everybody's hiding in the dens of the rocks and the caves of the mountains. And at the end of it, there's a time of no wind. And then the mark of the beast comes out. After World War III, Revelation chapter 13 happens. The beast rises out of the sea, makes war against the saints right here. Okay, Babylon the Great is destroyed and burned with fire. So that's my history. And this is just, I don't plan my messages very well. If I would sit down and spend 45 minutes writing out exact dates and, the exact date of Benghazi, the exact date that Edward Snowden did his first reveal on the NSA, the exact date that Russia took Crimea, the exact date of the Tianjin explosion, the exact date that, obviously it was November, 8th or so, that Russia was threatening thermonuclear war if Hillary Clinton wins. That was 2016. And then all the escalation with North Korea, and all the escalation with Syria, and in just literally in the last few weeks, we see Israel stepping in and starting to bomb targets in Syria. So, and then I wouldn't be surprised if Israel stops the bombing and comes to the table to negotiate with Russia and the United States and Iran. In other words, we're seeing a pattern of escalation, literally military operations going on, and then a sudden stop while we see political negotiation going on. Now, this is going to continue. It's not going to go away. And just because you hear words of, it's going to be peace, and Kim Jong-un's going to give up his nuclear program, or whatever they're saying, it's not going to happen, because as soon as the negotiations are over, somebody's going to shoot a bullet at someone, and somebody's going to launch a rocket, and somebody's going to have an aircraft shot down. So what I'm saying is right now we're seeing more negotiation. We're just in a time of negotiation again. Once again, more negotiation. So I hope you get your bomb shelter ready. I hope you get your food storage ready. I hope you get ready, and you can tell me I'm crazy. You can tell me I'm a warmonger. You can tell me I'm wrong. But on the day that World War III, the hour of God's judgment, that's the other thing. The Bible describes this end of days hour, an hour that Babylon the Great falls, the hour that the beast and the government and regime of the Antichrist comes to power. Revelation chapter 17, verse 12. The hour of God's judgment, the hour of trial to come upon the whole earth. And then when you look at, and that's Revelation 3:10. And then when you look at and you do the math on how long it would take a full-scale worldwide thermonuclear war to happen, you realize that it takes 20 minutes to do a strike. That's intercontinental ballistic missile duration, not counting any type of nuclear assets that we have floating in outer space, which would cut the time in a quarter, okay? And whatever nuclear, and we do have nuclear. What do you think what was that? The Falcon 9 Heavy, the SpaceX Falcon Heavy. That was not Elon Musk shooting a toy car into outer space. That was a nuclear capable something or other. I saw a vision of it. It's a giant seed pod that's in deep outer space right now, hovering over the Earth, and it has like an 8-minute. It's got a ton of nukes inside of it, and when somebody says go, this thing breaks apart, and you got a bunch of nukes that have their own little boosters on them, and they all go and they all spread out and start heading towards their targets, and it's like an 8-minute, it's literally, and they come straight down. They don't come in at an angle, and their trigger is one of those. They each have a different type of trigger. Some will detonate higher up in the atmosphere. I'm just telling you. And then we know Russia has a bunch of their new nuclear assets that they've been boasting about. So, yeah. And why do I know that SpaceX was a nuke? That the Falcon 9? Because in 2015, I saw a very clear vision. And when I did my research, I knew it was a nuke in the vision. And the closest thing I could find when I did my research was it was the Titan 4. And I thought it looked like the Titan 4, but it was different. And I knew it was different because the head, the Falcon 9, or the Falcon Heavy, whatever it's called, the SpaceX launch, was slightly different from what the Titan 4 looks like. And I clearly remember the vision. And then I remember watching the SpaceX launch when it was done live. And the actual camera angle was exactly what I saw in the vision. And so I saw the Falcon 9, or the SpaceX Heavy launch. I don't know if it's even the Falcon 9, but I saw that in a vision in 2015, literally 2 years before it happened. So, yeah, get ready. Get ready, you guys, because, hey, hopefully we have until next year, until next winter. But I don't know. I just don't know. I wish I knew. Amen. But praise God. Get ready.